afternoon, morning, evening, depending upon where you are in the city and what time you're viewing the show. This is from the Halls of Justice. And this evening in the studio, we have a very special guest. We are honored to have with us Khary Filer, and Mr. Filer comes from a very well-known family in the city. They have a legacy here. He has an uncle who is the Honorable Judge Kelvin Filer. He has cousins who are attorneys, uncles in the legal field. I mean, this gentleman, they are well known throughout the city and very well respected and known. So I thank you for taking the time to come to the studio today.
Thank you.
We air on local channel 36 in beautiful West Hollywood, and we try to bring you the best of the best. I found out in the green room that Mr. Khary has a blog that he does and produces and writes on, and he cares about the community just like his family. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The topic and the fruit of this show will be the struggles of the working class in America, and he wants to give us his views and opinions about that. So, what is the freedom dividend?
Okay. Thank you for having me, Wanda. I really appreciate coming on.
Thank you for being here.
The freedom dividend is the central pillar of the presidential candidate Andrew Yang's platform. And what it is, it's a universal basic income that would go out to every American citizen between the age of 18 and 64. Unconditionally, not dependent on whether you're working or not depending on your health or any sort of financial status. Everybody would get it as a dividend, the same way that owners of companies get dividends for being a shareholder. In essence, it's making the American citizen the shareholder of the American economy, in which we can get a return from the advances being made by the tech companies, Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Uber.
My question would be, if you are working or not?
Yes, right.
So people who are not working, now people that are working, I'm okay with that. But people who are not working, why would they get a share of my money?
Well, because it's our money. What it is the world of the Jetsons that we all saw when we were children, where the husband would go to work maybe 2-3 hours a day, do his job for Stanley Sprocket, but then he could support the family when they're flying cars and they're very high house.
But so how did we know it was 2 or 3 hours a day? I mean, it was the cartoon, you know.
It was the cartoon.
Okay.
It was one income.
Okay.
And so let's work towards that society. Let's work towards a society in which the productivity and the efficiency that's being enjoyed by and increased by automation is actually spread out to society, as opposed to being concentrated in the hands of the owners of Facebook and Uber and Amazon. And so it's a vision for a vibrant, healthy democracy in which working class people are excited and empowered by automation as it comes upon us.
But that's what you just said. So the key words that I hear as a working class citizen is the working class. However, you said that it would be justified by people between the ages of 18 to 64, regardless. That's my question. Are we talking about the moment you turn 18, you start receiving this dividend check, whether you're working or not? Or do you need to sign up for a job, any kind of job, in order to receive your dividend check?
No, you don't sign up for anything. And so working class, even the phrase working class is actually a carryover from the society that we inherited from our parents. So we can refer to this as the freedom dividend, in which every citizen is an owner of their country, working or not. So the citizen class, of which you and I are a part, Jeff Bezos is a part, and every homeless person on Skid Row, if they're a U.S. citizen, they are also a part. It is a manifestation of the vision that the founders of this country had.
Yeah, but if you don't work, you don't eat. That's what my Bible tells me. So if there was and I got to tell you, just in my opinion, because now we're talking opinions here, there comes a time, and it's hard to make we raise our children at a certain age to let them realize that they have to become responsible adults, and not everything is going to be handed to them on a silver platter or a gold platter or even a copper platter at some point, and that you have to get up and go to work for it. So, keyword work. If they're not working, what's the incentive to work if you're going to get this dividend no matter what you do?
Well, I would say we actually don't have a work or starve economy. We want to feel that, but we don't actually have that. We don't let children starve on the streets. How many homeless people, how many homeless children are there in Los Angeles? Hopefully none. Because if we see any cold, wet, hungry children, we pull them off the streets and we make sure that they don't starve. The same for adults. They're living under tents, mostly a lot because they choose to. There are plenty of services that don't let you starve. That's not our moral. That's not our collective morality.
Your heart is in the right place, but I got to tell you, honestly, there is a problem with homelessness here in Los Angeles.
Oh, certainly
there is a problem with children being on the street, and that's a whole nother show. Because what happens with children being on the street or in hungry is that leads into, what do they call it? I even hate to think about it, flesh trafficking, prostitution, drugs, and just the abandonment of children, of people who are strung out on drugs, and they either do one of two things. They either try to turn their children out in the street to make more money for drugs, or they just leave them because, and they sell them off into trafficking for whatever it is, slave labor or even worse. So I'm back to, it sounds really good, but what's the incentive to make them get up and go to work?
Well, I think we get that incentive from our families. I think people get the drive to be something from their parents, from their siblings, from their mentors on TV or in real life. I think that's what really motivates us. I think what motivates us is meaning, the pursuit of meaning, the feeling of contribution. I think that's why people do what they want to do.
How much of a contribution between the ages of 18 to 64 are we talking about? What's the breakdown?
For the Freedom Dividend, it's $1,000 a month for every person, every American citizen. That's the idea. And
Period? How do you pay for the homes and for your groceries? I mean, are they free?
No, they aren't, and that's actually to your point. So, so $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year is not enough to get a Mercedes and a two-story house and the luxuries of life. It's not enough to get it. If you're trying to live off of this dividend, then you're going to be in a very small apartment with one other person. You're going to eat a lot of ramen noodles, and you're barely going to have internet access. So if you're living on that, then I say more power to you. But most people, most people in this class, in this common class, are not going to settle for that. They want to do more. And so what this dividend would give them is the opportunity to pay for their food and rent while they build the new skills that they need in the new economy.
So what you're talking about is sort of, instead of welfare or a replacement for still like a rebate from your taxes, are you talking about replacing taxes and welfare with a certain, for a dividend of everybody gets $1,000?
It's a different idea. In practice, it would probably replace the earned income tax credit, probably the mortgage deduction, and probably GR and food stamps. It would probably replace those cash benefits in order to be economically feasible. But it's a different principle. The principle is that you, as an American citizen, in the next society in which computers and robots are doing the meaningless work, no longer do you have to fill out every single Excel data sheet because there's an algorithm that's doing it. No longer do you have to move all these boxes because there's a machine.
Khary, there's going to be people calling in upset. Now, you can't say it's meaningless work because some of those people out there need those jobs of filling in the data sheet. And as a matter of fact, I don't like robots very much. When I call in to complain about something, I want to talk to a person. I don't want to talk to an automated system. I want a person, because an automated system will get on my last nerves. They try to put you in a compartment they give you a list of items that they want you to identify with, and whether that's your problem or not, unless you pick one of those items that might not be your issue, you can't get out of that automated system until you pick one that doesn't apply to you. And it takes at least 15 minutes to get through the automated system before you can get to a person to really understand and identify what you want. So I don't like automated system in meaningless jobs. I think all jobs are worthy. Legal jobs. But go ahead, for the sake of your blog.
But let me tell you, I am right there. When I pick up the phone and I get a computer, I say human, 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 and I pound 0, right? So that's in 20.
But then you're still not going to get anywhere until you pick their identification of if you have to say either representative or customer service, or do you want billing? You have to identify it the way the computer states, or else they disconnect you. And that really makes me angry.
Me too. Me too. Now let's keep in mind, this is 2019, and those are the voice recognition algorithms in 2019. In 2029, when you call customer service, it's going to be a computer, and it's going to say, "Hey, Wanda, how's it going? How can I help you?" And you're going to say, "Well, my service just went out, and I don't know what's going on. I paid the bill." And they're going to say, "Okay, fine." And then you're going to be off the phone with the computer in 10 minutes, and it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be a pleasant experience.
Okay.
And so we're talking about a program that will help people in the next economy, not
But
this
if my service is out, more than likely I'll go there with you too. My phone is out too. There is a wonderful company, Time Warner, Spectrum, whatever, and if you get their plan, that's the problem. If you get their plan, they will supply your computer, your television, your phone, and if anything happens and it goes out, everything goes out. The phone goes out. The only reason I was able to call and complain and get through customer service, which took another 5-10 minutes to get to the right one, and I'm screaming everything is out, is because I had another phone, a backup phone, who wasn't part of that system. It was part of another company, and I just think that I understand your logic and your reasoning and the idea in 2029 it might be better, but I don't think people are replaceable. I don't ever want to see people become replaceable.
Well, people are irreplaceable in a lot of what we do. And what we do that is uniquely human, we cannot be replaced. Computers will never appreciate love and God and beauty and art. They'll never create movies and poetry and then appreciate and critique movies and poetry and art and games and sports. Computers will never do that. That is the realm that is uniquely human, and we should move towards an economy and a legal system that supports those behaviors. We don't have to have a system in which people are forced to sell the best part of their time for the best part of their lives so somebody else can turn a profit. That isn't the way it has to be. Now, that's the way we've inherited it, but that's not the way it has to be. And so we should move our legal system and our economy in a way that supports those behaviors that are uniquely human. And that's what the freedom dividend does. It starts us on that road.
Now, what would the freedom dividend do to our legal system? See, I was all right with you until you started down that road. Now, what would you do with that? Because I don't think that our legal system can ever be replaced by computers with the humans that we have sitting there, our judges, our clerks, our marshals. As a matter of fact, we're even having a changeover right now from in the civil department where they're trying to go total electronically for their documents, which I find interesting because then during a trial, I don't do civil, but I'm trying to figure out if everything is filed electronically, when you do have a trial, what do you do then? Are you going to have two screens in the courtroom where you pull up all the pleadings electronically and identify those? Because at this point, they're still doing hard binders and hard trial books and copy machines, and you have to identify the exhibit tabs and have them, now those look nice when you do those and, numerically, but you still need people and you still have to have your hard paper. So
Well, that's true now, but that might change and will probably change in the upcoming generation. So we're talking on a long time scale here. So you have a courthouse. Let's say this courthouse has 350 employees in it in 2019. Well, maybe about 50 to 70 of those people over the next 20 years will be replaced by algorithms and computer programs. And so now instead of those 50 people doing this paperwork, you've got 3 software engineers that control the system that does what was once paperwork. Now that, in today's economy, is a reason for pause. It's a reason to fear, to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Exactly. But with the freedom dividend, it's a reason to celebrate, because then those people who used to spend the best part of their day, of the best part of their life, doing this labor, moving these numbers around, now they're free to pursue other interests. Maybe they want to go higher up in the chain. Maybe they want to be legislators. Maybe they want to be litigators. Maybe they want to be commissioners, justices.
There's
now
nothing to litigate because you have a computer doing it. But,
well, no, the computer will never make an ethical decision. That's uniquely human.
Okay. I was going to say, because the only department I know of that could possibly work like that would be traffic, the traffic department. Other than that, I don't see any other judges or judicial officers or court personnel being replaced by a computer, because we have too many issues that are real down-to-earth human, and people need some people to talk to. So, but traffic, yeah.
There are plenty of domains that are uniquely human, and I'm celebrating this age in which machines and software is taking those things away from us that aren't human, and we can focus in on those important familial, ethical, ideological, and theological pursuits.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Now, what are your views on gun control?
So I think a gun is a deadly weapon, unsurprisingly. I also think a car is a deadly weapon. Now, when you're 16 years old and you want a car, what do? You have to learn how to operate a car on paper. You have to fill out the learner's permit test. You have to pass a paper test, and then you have a waiting period. In our state, it's 6 months. I don't know what it is in other states, but you wait over that 6 months waiting period, mandatory minimum waiting period. You have to receive training to operate this deadly weapon. And then after 6 months, you can take a test in which you perform operations on this deadly weapon in front of a trainer to show that you can operate it safely. Then you get a license to operate this machine. The same should be applied for weapons. They're deadly. People should take learner's permits test before they enter the waiting period, under which they have to enroll in training for these weapons, and then they become a licensed carrier of a weapon. And that is to be fair and to be clear. The Second Amendment is not ambiguous about citizens' rights to own weapons. It's every American's right to own a firearm. I sincerely believe that.
I don't recall it taking 6 months to get my driver's license.
In Cali, yeah.
I don't think so.
That's what it took me.
Maybe I don't want to go with how old I am, because I'm not old, I'm wise. So, but I don't remember it taking 6 months.
It took me 6 months.
At all. Yeah, I don't recall that, but
no, I did do it. Let me remember. I did mine at 15 and a half. So maybe I did my learner's permit at 15 and a half, and I got my license right at 16. So maybe the way I did it was that I would propose some waiting period for firearms going forward for an 18-year-old or 21-year-old adult. I would say you get your learner's permit, and then there's a 2 to 6 month window under which you have to get training. And also, Andrew Yang, the presidential candidate who's putting forward the freedom dividend, has also put forward an idea that we should create a program, a federal program, in which we will pay for people to get fingerprint scanners on their weapons so that only that person who owns that weapon can fire it.
Well, that's a good idea. I like that. And is there a psychological evaluation that goes along with the permit for the gun?
I'm not personally for that.
Oh, I am.
People have put that forward. Yeah. I'm not personally for that. I feel like those are a little bit too subjective. I feel like most people should get the benefit of the doubt. That if I walk into this business and I fill out the paperwork and I fill out the form and I apply for the application, give me the benefit of the doubt that I'm of sane mind until I show you that I'm not.
Now, see, I don't think so. There's been too many killings, too many shootings. I don't even want to go with the fact, and these were probably illegal guns. Most recently, there have been several terrible shootings, and I'm a mother. So as a mother, when I hear of things, and let me, qualify this by stating, I'm not even a music rap fan. I'm not. I'm a rhythm and blues girl. I like it. I like to understand. I like the love songs. I like Shaka Khan. So I'm way back there. But I like Stephanie Mills. I like Patti LaBelle. I like Peebo Bryson. So when Nipsey Hussle was killed, it just broke my heart. I mean, I cried for 3 days. I cried. This was a young man who was murdered, and it didn't make sense. I didn't understand how someone who stood up, and a young man who was doing so much for a community, how he could be taken out by they tried to say someone in the community. I don't know. I have my own theories on that. I'm hoping that, and there shouldn't have been enough money in this world for anybody to pay, I'm going to say, another brother on a brother crime to kill this young man. And it broke my heart. So with that being stated, we're not talking about just black on black crime, and I'm not talking about Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about every life matters. So yes, I would love an initiative that would make you have a fingerprint on the gun in order to make you responsible for pulling the trigger. I want to know who you are and where you are so we can find you if there's an incident involving your firearm. I think that's excellent. But along with that, yes, I'd like a psychological evaluation to go along with it.
That's fair. And I think we would both agree that that our Constitution is clear, that every American citizen has a right to own a gun.
Sure.
And then we would agree that this country has a problem with gun violence. One idea that I put forward a couple years ago was that we idolize the gun so much that if you look at what we watch and what we idolize, the films and the television shows, how many hours of heroes firing indiscriminately into crowds do you see? Heroes. I'm not talking about the villains. I'm talking about where the good guy is unloading through a wall.
I like love stories. I don't do that.
But there's a lot of hours of it out there.
Yeah, I'm
think
a girl.
about Rambo.
What?
Yeah.
I like the other stories. But okay, I do understand. what you're saying. Okay, so evidently your hero here is Andrew Young. You want to talk about him?
Yeah, I'm excited about Andrew Yang. In 2016, I was excited for Bernie.
Andrew Yang. I'm calling him Andrew Young.
No, he's
Andrew Yang.
He's a Taiwanese
Okay.
American currently running for president. And I feel like in 2016, what I saw in our country...
Democratic, Republic, Independent, where is...
My stance?
His stance.
Oh, he's running as a Democrat.
Okay.
He's running as a Democrat.
So he's one of the, 14, 18 people we have right now?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And so what I did was I had the opportunity, you could call it, to drive rideshare for about 14 months.
Okay.
And so I was able to talk to people from all walks of life, not just Americans, but Canadians, Europeans visiting. Anybody who would come over and need to be in an Uber, I talked to them. And the same was true about healthcare and guns. Every other civilized nation looks at our nation and says, what's wrong, right? National health care, not-for-profit health care, is better than for-profit health care. That's not a left-right idea, up-down. That's just, it's better. It's better to not have a profit incentive when it comes to healing people. It's better that it's not there. And the same with guns, that there should be some sort of control. Of course, people have a right to have them. And so, anyway, I say that to say that Bernie's in the race again, and I still love Andrew Yang more. His policies, to me, eclipse what Bernie is willing to do for our country's working class.
Okay.
Bernie talks about a jobs program, for instance. To me, it's a little bit insulting that you would offer to pay me some wage to spend the best part of my day, of the best part of my life, working on a bridge that I may or may not care about, when we know that there's enough money in this economy that you could offer me half that and give me my time which is so much more valuable, to pursue the interests that I really care about. And not only would I be, and by me, all other people just like
I want to
me.
get paid. No, I'm not down for half or nothing. I want all my money, and I want a lot more of it. I'm really angry that the person that's in office right now, he tried to reclassify what middle class is. And as far as I'm concerned, they've got more people working, but it's for less pay, and it's insulting. So
the cost of living, the cost of
Has
education
gone up.
has gone up, the cost of health has gone up, but the wages have not.
No.
And so what I have, and people in my family, we have the same education that our parents has. We work just as hard, but we can't get houses. Are we meant to
that's his
conclude
fault.
that we're lazy?
That's the president's fault, right? No, it's
What I
terrible.
go for, there's actually a guy named Wanda Khorovsky. He was the Greek minister, Greek finance minister. And what he says is when capitalism came out of feudalism, it was based on freedom, the freedom of the individual to not be tied to the land of their parents. It's no longer lords and serfs, but people could choose their own destiny. And what happened was the economic sphere was then separated from the political sphere, and that had never happened before. Before, if you were a king or you were the friend of a king, you were political and you were economic. It was just they went hand in hand. But now we have banks and we have companies that are outside of political, let's call it accountability. Nobody's electing Mark Zuckerberg. Nobody's electing the leaders of Google and BP. They're just operating in the financial sphere, and they have more power than the people that we do elect. And so this is the first time in human history that we've had to figure out a way to balance these powers in our society. And what, to our point, what I think is happening and what Yanis Varoufakis describes is that the financial sphere has become so powerful that the political sphere can do little about it. And so you see people's earning potential staying flat. Meanwhile, costs go up. And when we try to initiate change, we say, hey, bring us a policy. It falls on deaf ears in the financial sector. And so
Well, let me ask you this. I want two questions. Number one, yes, because they're trying to make minimum wage instead of $10 and $11 go up to $15 eventually. However, at $15 an hour, you still cannot afford a rental property in this area or any other area that I'm familiar with at this point, and I'm a realtor. So yes, you would have to have, at $15 an hour, 3 people living in the same property in order to make that payment. We're not talking about purchasing at $15 an hour. We're talking about people who have gone to school, like yourself, gone to college, and then they come out and they still want to pay them a certain wage that I know at least 4 years ago, would have been at a higher point than it is right now. We've got 1 minute, 54 seconds. What do you think about Kamala Harris or Cory Booker?
If I had to choose between those two, I would choose Kamala Harris. Of course, I mean, to me, Cory Booker is an intelligent, well-intentioned follower. I don't see him as a leader. The ideas that he's putting forward are well articulated, but they aren't original. They aren't courageous, not in my opinion. So when I look at Andrew Yang, I see an original, courageous thinker, and that's why I put my support under him.
There's some other guy that just came out too, Pete
Buttigieg
is okay, something. Poor guy. Sorry, I butchered your name. What's your opinion of him?
I feel like Pete Buttigieg is a
That's
young.
it, Buttigieg.
I feel like Pete Buttigieg is a young, intelligent, gay Hillary Clinton.
Well, what do you think about Biden?
Biden is an older, straight, touchy-feely Hillary Clinton.
Oh,
And when I say this to say, let me be clear. I'm against neoliberal policy. I'm against, hey, let's privatize everything but give lip service to the people. I'm for power to the people. Money is power. Therefore, I am for money to the people, freedom dividend.
Oh, I was done with Hillary when she said she got some hot sauce in her purse. I was
That's
like, girl,
what she
please.
said. That's what she said.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds. What would be your closing statement to the audience?
To the audience, I would say get out and vote.
Okay.
Whether you agree with me or don't, what's important is that we are in a lowercase d democracy, and we all need to exercise our right to vote.
Amen. All right. Join us next week on From the Halls of Justice. All right. Bye. That's it. Take care. See you next week. Yeah, that was a good